Well, I guess here we are again. It is currently just after 8 p.m. on Sunday, July 25th. It's a gorgeous evening, a couple of high stratus clouds in the air, about 68 degrees, and it's nice. Um, we're going to go on another first right now, at least a first for the season. We are going to plant the first of our fall vegetables. So I'm heading to the greenhouse. Uh, here's the pots I want to use. If you hear a little noise in the background, that's the fan. Oh my God! I think I just walked into a spider web. Ugh, crikey! All right, you don't need to be rotating. Okay, well, welcome to the greenhouse. The greenhouse is, of course, a topic for another day. It was one of the first things that we built when we got out here, and it is a corner of our operation. I've got a tomato right there in a gallon pot that's got fruit on it, and looks like jalapenos. They were leftovers, never got outside, and here they are in the greenhouse, just thriving. Okay, well, I'm looking to see what we got going on here. I had a bunch of herbs in here I pulled out. Um, the usual cycle is around the 1st of May is when all the vegetables and things will come out of the greenhouse, at least the ones that haven't already, like your tomatoes and peppers and things that need a certain threshold of temperature. So about May 1st-ish is when it cleared the greenhouse, and by that time we put everything in the ground. So over the last couple of years, we've developed a cycle that as soon as we bring everything out of the greenhouse, the first thing we plant is basil. Basil is a tropical, and it likes the heat. So I'm looking, I've got, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Oh, it looks like a little guy. 27, 28 basil plants in here, and I probably got another 20 or 30 out in the ground. We use basil quite a bit. Kimmy makes a pesto that she freezes in ice cube trays. I guess you wanted the recipe. I could send it to you, but and then we put it in ice cube trays and put it in the freezer. And then when we want to make a fresh pesto sauce in the winter, it's all ready to go. Okay, so sometimes when you're planting stuff, you'll plant extras because you bought the seeds. So just planting a few others is no real additional cost, which means sometimes the greenhouse is full of like extra plants. If you're ever in town and you're looking for especially herbs, I always have a big excess of herbs. There's the tobacco plant. I'll have to tell you guys that story someday soon. What I'm doing right now is I'm just trimming off any leaves that are looking a little wicked, and as these get bigger, I'm taking the tops off. What we don't want is this to go to seed. Once a plant goes to seed, there's a chemical change that happens in it, and it will generally start getting bitter. Now, all this is good eats, so I should bring them in tonight. Well, it looks like I've got 3 or 4 types of basil. We got the sweet Genovese, which is what you would normally associate with basil in the grocery store. I've got some Thai basil and a variety of sweet basil. I'm not sure much about it other than I planted it. I'm not the one who deals with what's this? I'm not the one who deals with the basil that much, so it's all right. It's just not my thing. Okay, so tonight we are planting onions. Sort of when I first got out here to the Pacific Northwest, I came and I'd done most of my gardening in my life in the environments of Utah. And Utah, of course, gets very cold at night. It's zone 6B, I think. So it gets cold in the winter. The zone really has to do with your lowest temperatures that you get in the winter. And the type of gardening and farming that was done out there is a little bit different than here, in part because you would harvest a lot in the late, starting about now. August, September, October would be heavy harvesting work that would be done. And then you would need to store what you harvested. So you would have root cellars and stuff like that. This isn't unique to the Utah environment. This is done all over the Midwest and I don't know, the Northeast and all sort of places. Um, and you can do that here. The problem is our water table is so high that it is really hard to build a root cellar around here and not just have it flood out. So you don't see a lot of them. And then secondly, what took me a little time to figure out is that you don't really need them for some things, and onions is one of those things. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start these onions now, it being right at the end of July, right at the beginning of August, and they will be in the greenhouse. I don't know, maybe 10 weeks or so, and they'll be small. So we're going to plant a bunch of them in one pot. And then they'll look like little scallions. Matter of fact, if you've bought onions at the store, like at the nursery, you'll oftentimes find them in a bundle. They look all dried up and kind of withery, and you can just plant them that way. They are the most transplant tolerant thing in the world. In fact, if you want to, what are you, my friend? You're dead. You got a dead plant. Dead. If you want to, you can go. Do you like scallions? You can just cut the bottom inch off of it and just plant them really in anything. You can plant them in water and they will grow. So I hardly ever buy scallions or grow scallions from seeds. When I need them, I basically just go get some at the grocery store, eat them, and then plant them, and they work pretty well. But so these are storage onions. These are yellow onions. This is a variety I picked up a couple days ago from Botanical Interest, onion bulb yellow Grenex. Now, there are two types of storage onions that, so when I say storage onion, I'm talking about the big bulb onion that you normally would get at the grocery store. You probably associate with an onion. So the first type are, there's basically short day and long day. So a lot of things that we have bred over the years, we being human beings, have been bred for a particular environment. This is true for all sorts of things. There are birds, for like chickens, for example, that have been bred for areas, way far north, up above the 45th parallel, in Northern Europe and those sort of places. And of course, the chickens themselves came from Southeast Asia. So some of them are bred for more of that environment. So when you're picking your variety of plants and birds, you have to be somewhat aware of your climate. Short day and long day really are about what it sounds like. If you're planting onions over the winter, you don't have as much daylight. So you want a variety that has been bred over the centuries to handle those conditions. So when you're buying your onions, your bulb onions, the only thing you really need to pay attention to is that it is which of the type of variety you're getting. Now there's a lot of different variations. So these onions say 110 to 160 days. Now that's a wide variance, and it actually goes longer. When we plant in the winter, what will happen is these get germinated in the greenhouse right now when it's very warm, and then we'll plant them out. And typically, the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't gotten our first frost until into November, sometimes December. Now, by the Old Farmer's Almanac, we have to assume it's going to come mid-October is when you really need to be ready for the first kind of frost. But these are very frost tolerant. In fact, they will stay in the ground over winter. So by getting them in now, so then I'll have, let's see, we'll have all of August, September, October, November, and December. You got 5 months in the ground there, so that's 150 days. But the crazy thing about onions is you don't have to pull them out of the ground, and what they will do is they will just slow down. And oftentimes the winter things in January here, they'll just kind of stop. Things like kale and cabbage and some other things we'll be planting in the next couple of weeks, so we'll talk about them and get them. They will overwinter just fine. You just won't have very much growth on them. For the onions, it can actually make them really super sweet and even better in the spring. So when we plant these, we can start digging them up in, say, November and have onions, depending on how many we plant, all through the year. So that old Midwestern Utah model of trying to get 300 pounds of onions that you're trying to store and not have rot, I really don't have to do that because I can just leave them in the ground where they'll be just fine. All right, that's enough talking. So these seeds, if you've never seen onion seeds, you're not going to see them now. They look like little black specks, about the size of a sesame seed. Now, so I've got 2 pots here in front of me that, matter of fact, I'm going to get a third. Put those seeds back. The third one dirted up. So here on my table, I have a big jar or a big bucket of dirt. I buy sort of higher quality. Matter of fact, I buy the Miracle Grow potting mix. I found it works the best. I know it probably has peat in it, which is best not to buy, but it's the one I found that works the best. And I can't save every portion of the world every second, every day. All right, so I've got these. I am going to take, and I got a water line here, and I'm going to mist. Oops, that's not a mister. There we go. I'm going to mist these. Get them nice and a little damp. So these are, again, I think 4-inch, 5-inch square pots that are designed for tomatoes. I got these from my neighbor. He gave me a whole bunch of pots yesterday. I've got probably about, I'm a regular greenhouse guy, so I got about, several hundred pots in here at any given time. But all right, so now we're going to plant in each of these probably about 20, 30 seeds. And again, they'll do fine that close. And when we transplant them, what we're going to do is we are going to take them out of here, then plant them directly in the ground. Now, I'm going to do a little cheat that I learned here. I'm going to take the soil off the top here. So the rule of thumb of a seed is if you look at the widest point of the seed, however, because sometimes they're flat, they're like sesame seeds. That's what these look like, except they're black. And it needs to be 1/3 the you take the distance across the seed, and it needs to be 3 times that depth down below the soil. So the depth of the seed is generally a function of just how big the seed is. Now, some seeds need to be exposed to UV, need to be exposed to light to germinate, but it'll always tell you on the package. But so what I'm going to do, because I'm planting a bunch of these seeds, is I've taken my pot here, and for this size seed, that's about 1/8 of an inch, because I'm an American. And I am just going to pinch these seeds and kind of scatter them the best I can. This is not a science. This is more an art. Well, I mean, I guess it's a science, but it's not that critical that they're spaced with a ruler or whatever. And I don't have any interest in saving these seeds, so I'm just going to plant the lot. Usually these have a pretty good germination rate. The older the seed you get, the lower the germination rate goes, but there have been preserved seeds that have been re-brought back to life after thousands of years. I know of a case where they planted, I think, some barley. They pulled out of an Egyptian tomb and they were able to grow it. So it's an incredible thing. All right, so I've got those seeds in there, and I'm just going to cover them with about 1/8 of an inch of soil. I don't want to pack it down too much, but I also don't want any air pockets in there. So I'm giving it a light tap as I distribute the soil over there. Okay, there we go. I'm going to mist them down again. Now, this greenhouse has an automated watering system. So I have them on timers, and there's sprayers up here. So it will start watering. I think this time of the year, it waters for 1 minute 3 times a day. Might be up to 4 times. I'd have to look at the timer to be sure. And that's what keeps everything going. So a couple of things looking good in the greenhouse. What else do I have in here right now? What are you guys? I think you're a type of basil. I've got two woad plants that I've planted. Woad is, some people would say, a weed, but it before indigo became widely available in Europe. Woad, dyers woad, it's oftentimes called. It's a yellow flower, but when you process it, it turns into blue. So whenever you see blue in a medieval, let's say, I don't know when indigo came in. I really don't. Probably the 16th century, around about then, when the spice trade really started taking off. So if you were looking at a 14th century tunic and it was blue, it would have been woad, which is one of the ways that if you're not good at forging paintings, they can figure it out, because only certain colors were available at certain times of our human history, at least from a European perspective. Forgive my lack of knowledge of Asian and Indian history on dyes. All right, so what we've done, we've planted some onions. The first things we're planting for the fall. We've checked on everything in the greenhouse, and things are looking decent. And so that's my chore for the evening. So we got a good start. All right, well, I look forward to hearing from you. My email is john@johnlarson.org, and let me hear what's going on for you guys. Thanks.